Morning, Zoomers. I presume you can hear me okay. Give me a thumbs up if you can. Thank you very much. I'm going to start on our hands and knees, if you don't mind. That would be great. Toes tucked. Breathing through the nose, if you can. If it's difficult to breathe through the nose, imagine the sinuses softening, which is a psychophysical experience. Allow a bit of movement, such as side to side, as a way of tuning in and tuning out, tuning in to radio now, which is the goddess in the present, the whole. And we can summarize the goddess as flow, an interdependent continuum without beginning or end. That's the now. Once the body's feeling soft and the plantar fascia is starting to soften with the breath, then we come up into Adho Mukha Svanasana. As ever in Adho Mukha Svanasana, we're going to check our basic alignment. Just make sure the hands and feet are equidistant from the sides of the mat. And then it might be whatever it is, padding your heels, moving the pelvis, meditating on intimacy with the palms on the floor, really letting the breath flow. So there's a really tangible sense of moving in and letting go. From here, bring the shoulders forwards so that the body is in a diagonal line. And breathe through your nose if you can. Find the pelvic floor as a support, a meditative support. It's not mechanical. It is breath-centered. It allows plenty of scope for movement of any kind. Lower the knees to touch very lightly on the floor, and then lift one while remaining calm. Bring that one down and lift the other while remaining calm. Lift both and back to down face dog. So the Adho Mukha Svanasana. Draw deeper breaths or allow deeper breaths to be drawn. So they almost have a sort of cyclic feel. They draw in almost like you sort of swallow a deep breath and then it draws deeply out from the very core of our being. And of course, as Patanjali says, we are engaging with the infinite. In other words, instructions like touch the floor with every part of the palms is a beginning. We're not expecting an end. Come down very, very calmly. Lay down on your back. It's good news so early. Even I'm pleased. I was the one that said it. Hands behind your head. Interlace your fingers. Take several deep breaths and observe. Just observe the back. So observing is like this openness, originating with the Buddhist tradition, but moving into Shaiva traditions. We have the concept of openness or emptiness. It's sometimes called emptiness or sometimes the void, shunya. But that, sometimes those words can sound a bit more heavy than they need to. Openness, just wide, open, wide. Like the beautiful song my old friend David Ronchetti wrote when we were about 17. Wide, open, wide. Just want to be wide, open, wide. So keeping in that mode, lift your feet when you're ready. Wide, open, wide is the same as emptiness, is the same as giving, is the same as lightness or lagu. So breath is at the center of this skill, the skill of being empty. Described it like a closed fists becoming an open palm before. So deep natural breaths. Lift your head when you're ready. Lower back close to the floor, jaw soft, eyes soft. You don't need much assistance from the hands at all. It's more like the abdominals are doing the activity and the head is just being supported rather than yanked up. It makes an impression into the deep belly. We can say that's a samskara. Patanjali says you use a samskara to remove all other samskaras. Extend one leg to about 45 degrees, or if your back's tight, go a little higher. And then retract and do the same on the other. Keep the breath free and spontaneous. Keep going until you've done 3 on each leg. A grand total, I'm sure you know, of 6. The important thing for a yogin is to breathe into it, to feel it, to express it with the breath. Then once you've done your 6, in total, your head comes down, the feet come down, the breath goes deep. 2, 3, 4, 5 or more. The arms can spread out with a little bend at the elbow. So we've got that 90 degree or more. 90 degrees actually is probably too acute an angle. We want it to be wider than 90 degrees between the bicep and forearm. We definitely want the elbows to be higher than the shoulders so that our chest is lifted as well. And it's really, really lovely feeling of surrender, like a tight fist becoming an open palm. That's all that's meant by shunyata, emptiness. A tight fist becoming an open palm. And it belies an understanding that giving is our superpower. Giving is our superpower. Now we're going to lift our feet calmly, breath-centeredly. Let the lower back really settle. Take deeper breaths whenever you're called to by the experience. Whenever you're invited to by the experience. You've got 2 choices. Either flex the hips so strongly that the back of the pelvis lifts and then shift it while it's lifted towards me before bringing the legs down, or simply bring the legs down. So the legs are going away from me, but if you're lifting and shifting the pelvis, that comes towards me before the legs go away from me. It's Jatara Paravatasana. I think it's useful to stack as much as possible one knee on top of the other. I personally do that by extending the top leg and reaching out with it so that I can draw it fiber by fiber, bless you, by the way, fiber by fiber into the pose. You can hover your legs or land your legs. Keep long and soft and meditative, long in the deep belly. Long along the anterior spine, but soft as well as the psychophysical fluidity. Come back up in your own time. Just roll back up. Land your feet. Scoot the buttocks under. Scoot the shoulder blades under. Take a few deep breaths. So each pose is an impression designed to trigger the invitation to release other impressions. Like the Tantra says, you use a thorn to remove a thorn. Like the Buddha says, a skilled carpenter uses a smaller piece of wood to remove a larger piece of wood. So we'll do the same, make the same sort of thing on the other side. So when you're ready, again, flexing if you want, and shifting, or just bringing the legs over if you don't want to do that, lift and shift. Trying to stack one knee on top of the other as much as you can. Of course, it's normal for your back arm to lift. And it's no problem. You just breathe into your back arm, extra long breaths. The tummy is lightly toned, draws in and up. Neck is soft, jaw is soft, breathing is deep. Even that impression into the intestinal area, into the belly, into the organs of the abdomen, instructs the whole body to let go of what was driving it. Usually, samshaya, that is to say, some form of uncertainty. Usually that is triggered by a belief we could say, the religious belief of most times, and that is the religious belief, believing in a being called me, myself, and I religiously. Bring your legs back up when you're ready. So believing in a being, me, myself, and I, causes tension, uncertainty. Scoot the buttocks under, and that uncertainty causes tension that can cause problems with circulation, with lymph, and of course with the mind. So we're always looking to return to flow. That means breathing deep here and now as you raise the leg furthest away from me. And we're going to just dorsally and plantar flex the foot. Move in ways that are evocative of a feeling of relaxation, of a feeling of release that shows up in the breath. This is our classic Lila Artha Lakshana trilogy that we use in Vajrasattva Yoga, which is just play, Lila. That's just, experimenting with bodily movements. But it has a purpose, so it's not random. That purpose is absorption. And you're looking for signs of absorption, like as you tune in, as you become absorbed in the now, called it the goddess earlier, the now, and then whatever the mind has taken hold of is released. It's like putting your foot in a muddy puddle, and whatever the puddle holds in the form of gases comes out. And when you're ready, bring that leg down, raise the other. Similarly, dorsally plantar flex, don't hold the breath. Keep your neck as soft as you can. Keep the breath as soft as you can. Any movements of the foot, anything goes, as long as it flows in the breath. Anything goes as long as it flows in the breath. Okay, bring the leg back down, lift both legs, hug both legs, and have a bit of a roll about. So the purpose of rolling about is absorption, so that the rolling about is the lila. The purpose is absorption, or reabsorption is a more correct way of putting it. The particle returns to the wave, if you're using particle physics as a metaphor. The particle is that sense of separate self that defined itself with labels that society has put, or familial labels, or labels that friends have put, or labels we've made for ourselves. This is why yoga advocates openness, emptiness. Because whatever vrittis, whatever formulations pass through the mind, those serve as a distraction to essence nature, to the realization of essence nature, which has no name. It has no problems either. Problems need a person, like a flock of birds need a roost, whether it be a tree or the pier, or so problems need a person. If there's no person, there's no problem. And what is it to dissolve is not another aspect of personality, is it being nobody? That's not it either. It's just surrender to the richness. And then that causes a release that causes us to fall, patan, to fall into our essence nature. You can roll around a while, I reckon. I certainly could. But we're going to release when we're ready. We're going to place the feet down. We're going to raise up one leg again. Doesn't actually matter which one. And dorsally and plantar flex your foot, and move in ways that release the breath, that invite a release of the breath. It's still up to us to accept the invitation. So it could be shaking, it could be moving, it could be bending, extending, it could be moving the whole leg, medially, laterally, proximally, distally. What matters is that it shows up that release is really happening in the breath. Not that you're thinking about release, that means nothing at all. Like Yoda from Star Wars once said, do or do not. There is no try. I think it's very, very good. Trying is a very skillful, very clever way of avoiding really doing something like letting go, really allowing letting go. So we're trying to let go. That's just an idea. Letting go is now, and it's in the breath, and it's a total surrender, and it's a closed fist becoming an open palm, metaphorically. Heel in, toes out, cross that leg over the other, lift the foot that's on the floor off the floor. Supta Suchirandrasana. A bit of rolling around. I quite like lifting my head up in it. So, you can if you want, you don't have to. And if you do and then don't like it, you can bring it down again. But definitely keep the jaw soft. Head can be up or down or both at, at different times. So you want a sensation that is challenging, that challenges the habit patterns. That's what you want, a sensation that challenges. So if you're able to daydream, the sensation is not rich enough. You've got to find another one. You've got to move until you find one that's, really the mind can't take hold of it. You've got to find one that the mind can't take hold of. If you're ready to release, and if you're into something, please feel free to stay. But if you're ready to release, we'll release when we're ready. The feet will come down, the breath will go deep. We'll take a few of those. Every time you take a deeper breath, the diaphragm begins to become more mobile, more able to respond to the now as it drops the habituations that are coming through the nervous system to the diaphragm and the various other systems and muscles of the body. So deeper breaths are very, very useful because they help release tensions. And once those tensions release, then the organs of respiration, or the muscles of respiration, I should say, can fire off in better timing. The way they move is timed better. When you're ready, raise up the other leg. Similarly, dorsiplantar flex. Anything else, is welcome. As long as it loosens you, as long as you start becoming looser in a powerful way. It's a sort of, it's a powerful thing. So breath deep, moving in ways that are looser. And anything goes, make it more dramatic if you need to, like really shake it out. If you look at Tibetans practicing, say, Tsalung Trulpur, or practicing their BEPS, which is, I speculate, a version of the Hatha Yoga Mahaveda, then there's dynamic, When you're ready, heel in, toes out, cross the leg over the other, lift the foot that's on the floor, plunge through the gap, around the far shin, back thigh, or use a belt. Relax the jaw as soon as you can. Look for something that knocks you off your tracks. That's, how we get in little tracks. It's like when we wake up in the morning, we might, the stereotype is a pair of slippers by the bed. You step out of the bed into the slippers. That's not how I get up, by the way, for several reasons. A, I don't have any slippers. B, my bed is like a futon sort of style bed. It's very low to the floor. Anyway, it's the stereotype, getting out of bed, stepping to your slippers. But what we all definitely do is get out of our bed and step onto our tracks, being somebody. What yoga does do is knock you off your tracks. So make sure it does. Make sure it challenges. If you're ready to release, then go ahead at any time. You only have to release when you want to release, of course, and then roll over onto your side. You're going to come into the pose when we lay on our side. Now, if for any reason it's difficult to support your head with your hand like this, then you can instead either extend your arm out and support your head with a block and a blanket. I've only got a blanket, but you can put a block underneath it, or arm forwards and a block and a blanket like that. So 3 different options. Hopefully one of them suits you. Extend your bottom ribs if you can. Lift your top leg if you're ready. Let go of the breath. And play with the leg. Between the horizontal and the vertical plane, you're looking for something that will stimulate release. And that release has to show up in the breath. You know? If it's not in the breath, it's not anywhere. It might be the idea of release, but that's like the idea of food, which, you know, if you're hungry, it does you no good, the idea of food. So the idea of release, it's just that, it's not actually release. But actual release is the breath, through the breath. So move in ways that take you out of the mental fabrications. We call them vikalpas, don't we? Mental fabrications. And into the open palm metaphor. Great. Okay, bring that leg down behind your other leg. And we're going to prop ourselves up on our forearm. Nice and calm if you can. Breathe through your nose. If you want, pick your body up. I like to bend my knee to pick my body up like that and play with any movements that come to you, such as raising the back heel, raising the top arm, raising the lower leg. Any of those. I'm not saying you have to do all of them, but you can do any of them that you want. Raising the back heel, raising the lower leg, raising the arm. But you can also just as much not do any of those. You can have the heel down if you prefer, the leg down, the arm down even. Sometimes it's nice to have the hand on the floor, which I think I'll need to do on my other side because of my damaged elbow. Okay, so when you're ready, come down, cool, calm, collected. Come up, cool, calm, collected. Move like a contemporary dancer. That'll be good. So when you're ready for the other side, again, you can either extend your arm and put supports, either a block and a blanket, or sometimes just a blanket's enough, but definitely a block and a blanket if your arm is forwards, because a blanket isn't usually enough unless it's a very thick blanket, or supporting your head with your hand, and then extending the bottom ribs, breathing easy, picking up the top leg and playing with it between the vertical and horizontal planes purposefully. That middle part of that trilogy, Lila Arta Lakshana. Arta means purpose. What is our purpose? To disappear into this and reappear in our true form as a result. So, because our true form is veiled by the multiple presumptions superimposed on us by familial biases, societal biases, personal biases. We believe the world is a certain way because we've had certain experiences. Other people believe the world is a certain way because they've had other experiences. It's the classic Buddhist and Jain metaphor of the blind men and the elephant who are all arguing as they're given a different part of the elephant to describe. One's got the tail, one's got the trunk, one's got the ears. And they're all arguing because they think the others are idiots, you know. They say, like an elephant's like a winnowing fan, one of them says. The other says, you're an idiot. The elephant's like a storehouse. It's got its leg. And another says, you guys are crazy. The elephant is like a broom. It's got the tail. And on and on. Keep breathing, jaw soft, eyes soft, meditating on the beautiful, liberating richness of now. If you tune into this, you're automatically tuned out of that. Now bring your leg down when you're ready, behind you. And again, you've got various options. We're going to pick ourselves up if we can. This is a bit that's tricky for me, but I can grin and bear it. And up you come. For me, I might have to keep my hand down. You don't have to. You can raise it up if you want. Breathe easy. You can raise the heel, the lower leg, the upper arm, or not for any of those, you know. But what matters is the breath. It's all about the breath. It's a little tagline. Okay. Very calmly, if you're ready, come down, slow, calm, easy. Cross your legs, have a block nearby. Buttock flesh drawn out and back. So Sukhasana. There are very tiny nerves throughout the body, some of them quite close to the skin. So if you feel when we lean forwards in this, that the nerves of your foot, for example, dig into the floor, sometimes just stretching the skin, pulling the skin on the ankles, you can adjust the position of the nerves. And 2 or 3 or 4 times, and you can find, wow, it's loads better, just a tiny little pull. When you're ready, hands come forwards to your brick block or whatever block you got. Relax the jaw. Relax the tail. It's interesting, I think, relaxing the tail in terms of, the totality of release. So a closed fist turning to an open palm. The first rich golden red rays of the sun streaming over the horizon. A full moon coming out from behind clouds. A tight flower bud opening in the warming sun. Experimenting, encouraging, and breathing. Obviously, you can have the block at any height that is appropriate to the support that the body needs. So if the body releases, then of course you can have the block lower. But it's not the goal of the pose to have the block lower. It makes zero difference to your ability to practice yoga, whether the block is high or low, whether your head is on the block or hands are on the block. Because yoga is just this journey, the particle returning to the wave. Tight fist becoming the open palm. The surrender to emptiness or openness. That births your true power, or your true Shakti. True, one's own powers are threefold. Power to know, jnana, the power to act, kriya, and the power of desire, icha. Consciousness, pure consciousness, has this kind of desire. It's not person-driven, it's not biased like the blind men and the elephant. It's the desire of emptiness. Adyashanti, in his book of the same title, calls it emptiness dancing. I think that's a great tagline for what yoga is, emptiness dancing. Trusting emptiness needs encouragement. I hope you'll be encouraged. Nobody is doing anything or abstaining from doing anything. In the nicest possible sense, yoga is none of our business. Yoga has nothing to do with you or me or us. Again, in the nicest possible sense, you're irrelevant in terms of yoga, in terms of the purpose of yoga. Dance is a magical thing precisely because the dancer disappears. That's why we like dancing, because we do it for long enough, you disappear. Coming up calmly, if you're ready. There's no pressure. And before we take the other cross of the legs, we're simply going to place our feet, our heels on the block. Voila. And it's not just the heels, it's the calcaneus tendon. So it's the longest tendon in the body. So it's nice to stretch that calcaneus tendon. And then we're going to draw the buttock flesh out and back. We're going to place our hands next to the hips. It's a version of Dandasana. Now, the idea of using blocks for the heels is it can help us focus on the very top of the thighs, on the dropping of the top of the thighs. Again, which is not something, that you or me do. Because as soon as there's you or me involved, then there's doubt involved. And as soon as there's doubt, there's tension, and that pushes us out of the body rather than in. So instead, we enjoy Bhoga. We enjoy. So sit tall, taller than that, actually. But at the same time, light. Tall and light. And that's the balance we're looking for. That's getting those two things at the same time is the riddle we're solving. I usually find ranging around is a very useful first station in solving this riddle. Ranging around means moving the pelvis forwards, back, left, right. Looking for space, looking for height, looking for lift. But in a way that's unified, yogic, together, breath-centered. Keep that jaw passive. Keep looking for complete occupation of the body. Every part. And that's an engagement with the infinite, isn't it? Look for complete occupation of the body. And if there's still more to occupy, then welcome to my world. Because, that's what's wonderful about yoga. You only need one pose to engage with the infinite, and the infinite is all you need to engage with for the separate sense of self to be consumed. Mathematically, it's consumed. Okay, nice and easy. Come out of your Dandasana and cross your legs the other way, so the way you had them crossed before. Again, draw the buttock flesh out and back. Again, adjust ankles if you need to, or as and when, if and when. You can come forwards to whatever height you want to come on the block. It may be that the hips are a little bit more limber, especially around the IT bands, the iliotibial tracts. Keep the jaw soft, keep the eyes soft. Breathe through the nose if you can. So the self can't dissolve the self, but the infinite or the ananta can. So you find the endless by scanning the body again and again to look for areas that are preoccupied and begin to move in to those areas, which will give whatever was in those areas an opportunity to release, which we allow through the breath. That's why it's really important to practice yoga somewhere ideally you're not going to be disturbed by anyone else, or you might ask people if you need me, come in very quietly. In the commentaries on the Dattatreya Yoga Shastra, it's mentioned that if you disturb, you shouldn't disturb a meditating yogin. And if you do need to get the attention of the meditating yogin, you have to put in front of them a mirror or a picture of a deity, so that your face isn't the first one they see as they come out of absorption, because otherwise it can cause this rapid contraction and reaction. So that's interesting. And that's because as we're practicing yoga, what's being held is coming up and out. And we need to have lots of space for that process. Calmly coming back up. We're going to fold a third of our mats over. And we're quite possibly going to use a belt, or certainly going to have one nearby. A third of the mat is folded over, and then you sit on that third with your legs extended out in front of you. You can sit on a regular block, turned ski width to the side that goes back is the same side as the leg we're going to bring back for Janu Shirsha. So we're going to bring one leg back, and it's going to come either somewhere along the inner thigh of its own leg, or if you can pull your leg back further, the heel can come into its own groin. So the knee actually ends up pointing slightly back behind you in that scenario. Not everyone will be able to come into that scenario, but if you can, it's useful for the extra stretch it brings to the psoas. So the knee, in a sense, points backwards. Again, you can use the patta around the foot unless you've got short legs and long arms, and you reach the foot with ease. And even if you can reach the foot with ease, it might be worth using the belt up first to give the space that's required for the movement of the release of what the body contains or holds. So akasha, space, is the primary element of interest for a yoga practitioner. So breath, release, back knee releasing, breath releasing. Keep softening the inside of the janu, the knee, on the back leg, on the bent leg, the inside. So this is wonderful process, takes us out of time, as mentioned in so many texts. Buddhists call it akaliko dhamma. Akaliko means outside of not time, outside of time. Yoga Sutra says it's kalenana vachedat. Yogi is unaffected by time. And time disappears in the light of the infinite, which is kind of its opposite. And the infinite arises when you start studying the body for areas that are preoccupied and release that preoccupation. Let awareness flood in, occupy in that way. So release is endless until there's full occupation. And at that point, the mind has no upadana anyway, no reaching out. It's completely gone in a sense, any sort of separate mind is gone. And what we have instead is this total recognition, total direct perception, pratyaksha, of the infinite flow of the now. Where there's literally no possibility of clinging, even coming up. There's nothing perceptible that can be perceived, that can be clung to. Come up real calm when you're ready, real slow when you're ready. Release that leg, extend it out, breathe through your nose. Give yourself a rub down if you need it or want it. Draw the butterflies out and back again. When ready, similarly, draw the other foot back, maybe to the top of its own, the opposite thigh, or to the top of its own thigh with the knee extending, feels like it's extending it backwards. Fingers on the floor or belt round the foot, whatever feels appropriate to the meditative release, especially of the inside of the knee, without holding the breath. So using the pata or holding directly or not holding anything, fingers on the floor, it works very, very well. Soften the inside of the bent knee. Even the inside of the bent knee, even the whole of the bent knee is a sort of timeless realm. You can feel the inside of it, you can feel the inner knee, you can feel relative lengths of skin, like the inner knee sometimes feels a little short and it needs to relax and lengthen and melt. The inner knee as in the medial aspect. And then the inner knee also as in the inner aspect, the deep aspect. So it's a constant process of study. Okay. Very calmly bringing yourself back up, extending out your legs, opening up your yoga mat, and laying on your back with a belt nearby. Very simple. When ready, taking the belt around both feet. I quite like to spend a moment flexed up, abdominally flexed, before extending the legs straight up. This is Urdhva Prasrita Padasana. Sometimes it feels good to take a bit of space between the feet. You go between having the feet close together and even taking them wide. For some people, it's really pleasant to extend the legs very, very wide, or a little bit wider, or just a small amount, whatever you feel you can breathe into. So the legs can go very, very wide, or just a hip width apart. The question is about the breath. Is the breath free flow? Is the yogin tuning in to each and every cell? Areas that don't need to be tense, like, for example, the neck. And as ever, there's infinite investigation potentials. What parts of the body are involved, what parts of the body can be brought into involvement, what parts of the body are preoccupied and that have tension, psychophysical tension. And that tension is normally come up around some sort of sense of self. I have got to, I mustn't, I am like this, I am not like that. If you took the legs wide and you're ready to bring them back together, pulling on the belt will help to pull the legs back in, and it gives a little exfoliation, two for the price of one. Raise up so you've got your feet about hip width apart. Relax the neck, relax the jaw, spread your toes. Play with the feet if you find it useful to really spread out the toes and the balls of the feet. This beautiful Urdhva Prasrita Padasana, beautiful pose with infinite potential. We can infinitely adjust. Okay. Despite the potential for infinite adjustment, we're going to bring the feet down, take a breath or two. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Take the pata, the belt, around your shins when you're ready. We are going to be lifting the pelvis. If for any reason it's difficult to hold the belt, of course, you don't have to. You can do this with your arms raised over your head, or you're holding the mat instead. But it's up to you. You don't have to hold the belt. You don't have to hold anything. But we do want the feet quite close to the bum and about hip width apart. And we are going to take the tummy into an in-up wave. So the tummy goes in and the ribs go up. And we lift the pelvis. Doesn't have to be high at first. We might want to shake the pelvis to loosen the back, or bounce the pelvis, or tilt the pelvis, or sway the pelvis, because we want to lift eventually with full incorporation. Now that means as you lift, you're also turning your arms out. If you've got the belt, it means you're twisting the belt outwardly to turn your upper arms outwardly. Ranging around, finding the pelvic floor. That's the challenge. Find the pelvic floor. Coming down slowly, if you're ready. Letting the shoulder blades draw away from each other as you come down. Take a deep breath or two or three or four or five or six. Neck relaxed, jaw relaxed, tongue relaxed, pelvis relaxed. Now we're going to repeat the same pose either with the belt or without the belt. If you want to hold the front shins directly, you could, or the mat, or some other variation. When ready, the tummy draws in and up, and when ready, you lift up. Chin towards the chest. Again, external rotation of the arms. If you're holding the ankles or the belt or whatever you're using, then it's external rotation of the arms. That's if you're holding the ankles, the belt, or the mat. Each gluteal region is toned autonomously. That is to say, each buttock feels like each buttock area rather, feels like it's gathering in to itself and pushing the pelvis up, but they're not squeezing together. And you might feel that one buttock's working really hard and then notice that the other isn't doing its fair share. So bring them both in over time. That's a relatively long-term project. Coming down when you're ready. Real easy. Again, the shoulder blades slide out away from each other. You come down to rest. You walk your feet away from your bum. You take a deep breath. Or two, or three, or four. So really deep breaths, really natural breaths, really deep natural breaths. Just bring your fingers along your neck, draw from the bottom of the neck towards the skull as you lift your head for a moment, just gently, very softly, elongating the skin 2 or 3 times. It's just a gentle motion. We don't want to overdo it, but we're just drawing our hands through the nape of the neck towards the top of the skull as we lift our head 2, 3, 4 times, or however many you want. Once your head feels right, just spend a bit of time getting it feeling right. Then it's palms up, arms facing the ceiling, away from the body, and just observing the back settling. Just observing the back settling by itself. Left side of the back, right side of the back, center of the back. If the body really feels settled, then of course you can then extend your legs, making sure they're not too far away from each other. And any little micro adjustments of everything, just to get everything well placed. It's sunyasa. Sunyasa means well placed. Then, of course, we place, as it were, the eyelids over the eyeballs, like little blankets. And underneath, the eyeballs begin to settle. We feel a release going through the optic nerves to the occipital lobe of the brain at the back. And we begin to feel all of our attention, all of our awareness is settling in the back of the skull. It's arriving and accumulating at the back of the skull. It's quite interesting to notice how prana flows through the nadis towards any part of the body that you move. So if you move your fingers on your right or left or both hands, notice how prana, a kind of consciousness, spreads out. Similarly, if you move your toes and ankles. So experiment with moving toes, ankles, fingers, wrists, and feel the energy, the consciousness move out into the body. And as it moves out into the body, eventually you'll feel ready with some little stretches to bend your legs, to place the feet on the floor, to scoot the buttocks under, and to take an extra deep breath. Then roll onto your side, facing away from this side of the room. Lay as comfortably as you can with your knees drawn up. Before rolling again, the other way. Letting yourself come round naturally. There might be a little bit of rubbing of the eyes or running a hand through the hair. Bringing yourself to face towards the shrine with your hands in a prayer position for transference of merit. May any benefit that we've gained in our acting in this way go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings. Om. Thanks so much, everyone. Thank you. Thanks, Zoomers, for coming along. Appreciate you very much. Thanks for your time. Love and peace. See you soon. Love you loads. Thank you. Enjoy the sunshine.